What's going on, guys? Seth here from Team Union Seth, here for Week 9 of the Power Rankings in Season 2 of the RPL. We are once again joined by Rishu.
Hello.
And O'Connell.
Hey, guys.
Week 9 was a very pivotal week in terms of playoffs. A lot of teams were able to clinch or at least put themselves in a really good position for playoffs. Some teams not so much. Weeks 9 and 10 were both division weeks, so big playoff implications, matches. They were all rematches again. So we are going to see what the rankings are looking like for this team. Who wants to start off with our number 12? As usual, the Tauberbischofsheim Teddiursas.
Well, I can go.
Okay.
All you, O'Connell.
It's my turn. Well, this was his best game of the season so far. I think the Gorgeist is the best mon he ever used. Like he's really good at using. He's good at it as much as he's bad at using Tapulele or. But still, I don't know why he chose some sets like Lamberry on the Explode. I don't know why you would have that, but it actually did good. Like it got rid of the poison, and Explode was actually good. He was winning at some point. He could have won this game. He could have won easily with Lele. Actually, this was one of the games he could have used his regular Volcarona and would have been successful. I don't know why he didn't do that, but overall, yeah, he's kind of finishing on a high note. Let's hope for a better season from him next season.
Okay, so as far as this week goes, it was his best week. He played by far, and this is like a regular thing with him and his opponent. Like, just for some reason, he plays by far his best games against. I have no idea why. As far as his prep goes, I think they revealed afterwards that both of them copied teams from other weeks. I think he was copied from before he had Aeredo, so we just swapped him on out. But ignoring the fact that that is true, the Teddiursas prep was actually pretty decent. Like, the Gorgeist, even the tiny one, that was a good bring, because his opponent's team is obnoxiously slow. And so, like, having, as opposed to the one that's, like, actually good, ended up working out in this matchup. Scarflele was a good bring against the Webs, again, because his opponent slow, and base 95 Lele Scarfed with the webs up is still faster and everything, except for Dugtrio. The Machamp, which we saw was Guts this week, ended up being a good bring again against the Hazards. The rest of the stuff was like kind of meh, but it's a step in the right direction. I think the first time that he played all three of his ghost types, which was a mistake against Necrozma. This time he only brought one, so that's nice, but I still think Sableye should have been there. I said his play was the best. I think on a meta level, it comes down to a lot of the times when he's playing, he just kind of like plays his own. Well, his opponent plays a separate one, and he ends up losing both of them because he's like super honed in on like, okay, what's my strategy? And he doesn't pay any attention at all to stopping what his opponent wants to do to him. Whereas his opponents are generally more keyed in on both. And in this week, he actually like did effectively, for the most part, play around what his opponent was trying to do to him, as opposed to singling in on what he needed to do to win the game, and it brought him better results. Specifically, as far as his play goes, like you said, the Lumberry, switching in Lumberry X-Cloud on a knockoff, it was probably an accident, but it was super woke. I liked it. Popped off a little bit. His play overall wasn't super great, and he did have his opportunities to win the game, but he set up his Ursaring too early, and then later in the game with the Cloister in against setup, even though if he did, he probably won. Well, if he did, backing up a little bit, if he did set up and Screech, he definitely won this game, right? Because he kills Dugtrio and then he does enough damage to Necrozma or kills it. that Lele can come in and win. But even he's able to then probably kill Doug. He's able to live, kill Dugtrio, and hit Lele, or excuse me, hit Necrozma the next turn. So he definitely had his opportunity to win this game by Shell Smashing with Cloister, and he didn't. So that's his fault. But the reason he lost this game overall is lack of hazard control, because like not even the web's hurt because it's the Gorgeist, but the Toxic Spikes really hurt him in this game, specifically with Cloister. So just is unfortunate because this was probably his best opportunity to pull out a game this season, and that those two things still cost him. But these were encouraging signs, even if it was too little too late.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just watching it, it definitely leaves a good taste in your mouth as a viewer. Looking forward to next season and to future battles, just seeing how well he did in this matchup in general, and his improvement overall from previous battles. So, the number 11 team, yet again, I also just noticed a mistake on the graphic. The name and everything else is right for number 10, but we'll get to that in a second. But anyway, the Emerald City Espeons at 1-8 lost again to my team, the Fearows. Risha, you can start with this game. Not a whole lot to say, not a whole lot to see, as you guys will see in a second.
Yikes! Startling lack of professionalism there, Seth, on number 10. But that's okay.
True.
Yeah.
So you're about to watch this entire game in about 15 turns. I don't even think it was that long. So we got a Calm Mind. And then he got crit when he got to +6 as soon as you used an offensive, or I think the second time you used an offensive move.
Yeah, the second one.
Which like feels really bad, man. I think ultimately he actually like lost that interaction anyway, regardless of whether or not hacks happened, because he said he didn't have Roost.
Yeah.
Or recover. So I mean that setup was kind of ill-advised, but like, what is he gonna do? I can't say much about the rest of his prep because of all the Okos. His matchup wasn't great, but his team composition wasn't terrible. Like, I didn't see another mon on his team that I would have like preferred that he bring in this game, as opposed to the 6 that he'd bring. Even though this 6 has been pretty consistent throughout the entire season in not doing very well, but obviously treating each game individually, this wasn't bad prep. I would have liked to see how the game had turned out. Different circumstances, him not getting crit, him like not choosing to engage in what I believe was a losing Calm Mind War turn 1. But, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much. This game was semi-unimportant for both teams. It really didn't matter for him, and it only kind of mattered for you, depending on how the other games in the league went. So it feels bad, but it's not that bad. And if he could turn around next season, because he's been having problems all season prepping and playing with this team. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's much to say about this game. Like, I didn't know he didn't have Roost. If he had Roost, it was a winning game for him because, you know, he is faster. So he had that advantage. If he had Roost, without Roost, yeah, Slow King is gonna win that anyhow. But still, crit sucks. And he had Silver Ghost, which is actually, I'm not sure if it's a good bring, because you had Bibarels, which came to almost, so I don't know if it's a good, but if it had multi-attack instead of Shadow Ball, if it's I don't think it was a good sack there. I don't know if it was physical or special, but if it was physical, it was his best shot to damage that slot, and he just sacked it.
Yeah, I was really curious when I saw the Sylvali Ghost, just because he had so many Ghost and Dark weaknesses already, and just adding another one on top of it. I was expecting Sylvali Ground, considering Jolteon had a good matchup because he had no other Dark type. So I had Specs Jolteon, and I was expecting to see Sylvali Ground in that case, which didn't end up coming, obviously. So that was definitely surprising for me.
I think if I were him, it would have been Sylvali Electric.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because the Stab Thunderbolt on being super weak to Weavile and being able to kind of answer Jolteon.
most of yeah.
but
That's
I
all.
don't think Savali Ghost is that bad. So at least he got something there. It could have been better, but whatever.
All right, so moving on to our number 10. It is both the Indiana Infernapes for both of you. I just forgot to change the team logo in it, but Okan, you can start with their game, and then Rishi, you can give your input because it was your match.
Sure. He played really weird with Armal. I don't know why he protected that much, but he just sacked Greninja turn 1. Later in the game too, he just kept protecting Armaldo and risking every other. Like, looking at the team, Armaldo is the least important Pokemon on that team. So I don't know why he played that way. I don't think he prepped bad. His prep was overall actually really good. He could have done better on the playing side. Like, kept Armaldo in the game. Zygarde and his Greninja would have been alive, and Greninja actually is a really good matchup if he could just get rid of Vaporeon. Other than that, not much else to say. I think it was an important game at this point. It was clear he's out of the playoffs, and you only lose. It only matters like if you lose on some sets wins. So overall, yeah, he always prepped good, but he was really bad, and he actually was really hurt by the team. And in the end, he just lost to Absol, which is the most filthiest thing imaginable. Like, why would you do that to yourself?
Any rebuttal?
Or
Okay, so like, I disagree that his prep was good. I think his prep was pretty subpar. I think the lack of Appolitoeds specifically, like I know we were encouraging him to mix it up for the first however many weeks it was where he brought Appolitoed every week and it never did anything. But because he dropped Go-Goat earlier in the season, he did not have a single good answer to Zygarde in his entire team. Appolitoed was probably his best one.
Armaldo is.
No, it's not. You saw that it wasn't.
He
got two shots.
He didn't use it. He could have used it better.
That's true, but it couldn't do anything in return. So like Politoed with the Ice Beam was probably his best answer to Zygarde left on his team, and he didn't bring it. Thundurus wasn't brought again. Kind of a weird decision because Thundurus is like his best offensive mon by a lot. So he did actually, which I forgot until I watched the replay again because it didn't matter, but it was kind of cool. Because Swampert was pretty good in this matchup with as long as Rain was. And so finding a different way to get Rain up was pretty neat. I don't know if he was the Z move or Z Rain Dance because he only got 5 turns of it, and I don't remember seeing what the Metagross's item was or if we ever found out. But that was kind of cool. So he can get credit for that, but the rest of it, I think, just boils down to he was really massively under-prepped for Zygarde, again, partially because he lost his only decent check to it via free agency. And then his play didn't do anything at all. I saw that he probably couldn't one-shot me with anything except Greninja turn 1, so I just led with it, which clearly completely caught him off guard. And answered him to the point where he just sends in Greninja, and then Greninja drops. At that point, we are now, turn 1 is over, Greninja is dead, and so is the game. Right? He cannot win this game anymore. He doesn't have a win con, he doesn't have a way to deal with Zygarde. Every time out from for the rest of the game, you're right. I think keeping Armaldo alive was a poor play on multiple fronts. One, because Armaldo wasn't that important to his winning this game for him. And 2, because the easiest, freest switch into Zygarde that he had on his team. And every time Zygarde came in, literally every time Zygarde came in, you got a kill for free. Nothing you could do about it. So yeah, he took a step back in terms of his play. I didn't like the way he prepped in this game. There really wasn't anything he could do, short of me totally choking in endgame to avoid losing this game. I don't even think there's really a lot he could have done to avoid getting swept by Absol in this game, because Absol's actually good. Shut up, Okan. Overall, like you said, season's been pretty encouraging. His play up to this point has been pretty decent. His prep up to this point has been pretty decent, but I did have to drop him backwards the last couple weeks. And 2-7 is 2-7. So at the end of the day, I think like we've been saying the past few weeks, the future holds bright things for him in this league.
All right. Moving on to our number 9 slot. Both of you had the Barbados Bibarels, moving up a little bit from last week. I believe they both moved up 1 slot for you guys. Another error. I'm not sure. It's funny because I looked over this as well. I guess I just missed both of those. But anyway, Rishi, you can talk about the Bibarels and how they played this week.
Whack. We should get Josh to do the graphics, because he already did every single thing that appears on your screen. But Barrows goes again, ignoring that the fact that the prep was from a different game. It wasn't terrible. Herdiers was the one thing that he changed well, even though Herdiers is so bad. Just because spikes and webs were just really annoying to deal with, especially given that the defogger that he's used the most often is Volcarona. I can't remember if he has another one or not.
He could have had Nihiligo to absorb the toxic
That is
spike.
true.
He never used Nihiligo, I think.
No, he used Nihiligo a couple times. But the issue is, like, do you really bring Nihiligo against the Necrozma Dugtrio team? I don't think I do. So, like...
Yeah, you don't, but...
Especially with Alolan Muck, like... Yeah, Nihiligo had a bad matchup.
Yeah, the Volk is his only defogger. I mean, he has Mega Sableye to bounce hazards, but in terms of removal, that's that, and then it's Cloyster for Rapid Spin.
Okay, so... Yeah, there wasn't, again, a lot his opponent could do, so I think that Herdiers was a good brew. Would have liked to have seen Honchkrow, given that his opponent has 3 ghost types. And the fact that he, like, planned on getting webs up, and so the fact that Honchkrow was slow would have been a less big deal. But I guess he, for whatever reason, I think he only brought Honchkrow 1 or 2 times, and the one time we did see it set, I know the set was terrible. So, I don't know what Honchkrow did to him, but he really, like, buried that mon. As far as play, he didn't play very well. I mean, he leaned really heavily into Goodra getting kills this game, and that did a couple things. One is, caused him to just really ignore the other good offense he had on his team, like Necrozma and Scizor were both clearly better than Goodra in this matchup, and not functionally do their jobs because of how he was leading into Goodra. And also, it ended up killing his Goodra. Because did on the Machamp when he should have, like, just clicked a dragon move. Even if Tapu Lele comes in, Tapu Lele probably doesn't kill him, and he's able to. He lost Herdiers at some point for absolutely no reason at all. I guess he didn't feel like whipping out a calculator and noticing that he would be slower, even with the webs up, because Herdiers is bad. But ultimately, he was able to get the setup he needed to, like, whittle down his opponent. His opponent misplayed the last turn with Cloyster. He was able to take out the win. It sets up a scenario next week where it happened past few weeks where he has been playing literally like one of the worst teams in the league. His wins, I think, since like week 2 are both against. But he's still in the playoff race. His next game is essentially a playoff play-in game against the team that he smoked week 1. So he's almost, like, not 100%, but he's almost completely in control of his own destiny. And so the setup for that game, I think, has been very interesting. Really look forward to seeing that result.
Yeah, I don't have too much said. I think his prep was not too good. I was never actually a fan of his prep. Like you said, Honchkrow never came For some reason, Screech Dactrio always was his go-to mon. Yeah, overall, he could have lost this game easily if his opponent had some kind of plan to begin with. I hope he can bounce back next season, but I don't have much to add.
All right. So this is where we start to get a little bit of a discrepancy in the power rankings for both of you. So, Okan, I'm going to have you talk about your number 8, the Durham Granbulls, and Rishi, you actually had them at number 6. So, Okan, you moved them down quite a bit this week as compared to last week, so you can go ahead and talk about how they're playing, why you moved them down so much.
Yeah, we always talked about her potential because she started with winning 4 games in a row, but then 4, right? Not 3. I don't know.
She was 2-0.
2-0? Serious?
Yeah, it was 2,
Yeah,
and then she played me, which started the string of losses.
Yeah, we kind of over it. Okay. I mean, she's a good player. I'm not disagreeing with that, but she kind of lost. She never won after the week 2, and okay, the first
She got a
few
forfeit win. She got a forfeit win from the
first
week
few
that she got
were
last week.
close against us. Actually, I think first 3 losses were against us. I think,
Yeah.
and they were all close. But after that, the last 2 is like 5-0, 4-0, something like that. All of, and I don't know if I actually she kind of did she try new things and failed, or was it just her losing faith in herself or something? Because she always comes to the playoff race and then she fails, and she kind of did that to herself because the sets are kind of uninspiring, play is kind of uninspiring, and she came to the game without too much plan for like QRAM, Cartana. I think he only had 2 months that are not weak to Cartana. One being Mayansho and other being the Bugman.
Selgor.
Yeah, Axelor is actually really good brink in this game. I don't think I wouldn't say she played bad this week, but I can't say she's better than the other 7 team I ranked above her anymore. I hope she can just gain some confidence between the off season, so she can be better next season, because she knows her, like tactics. She knows her mons. She knows how to prep, how to play. But I think it's some kind of confidence at the end, because she kept getting worse, I think, after the week 2. That's all.
I'm not sure I agree that she kept getting worse after week 2. I think she played her best games in her first few losses. Specifically against me and Seth, I think were both very well played games. Whereas her first 2 wins, if you actually go back into the archives, were very hacksy.
Yeah,
and full of misplays on both sides.
4. Let's say after week 4 or 5.
But I will agree that she's been very slowly declining since that point. She pulled mad last move in what was effectively the most important game of her season. This is the first one where she didn't bring Mega Metagross. And that ultimately didn't pay off, but I don't think it was a terrible idea. I might have gone with a Toxic Stealth Rock set over the Rotom Wash that she brought, because that ended up being not very useful and gave us a momentum, whereas Metagross might have mitigated that just a little bit. Physical Blacephalon, hot, more spicy idea with Toxic, would have achieved a similar purpose, but probably would have been worse. That's just me. The remainder of the prep, I think, was pretty good. The final gambit, like you said, on a Selgor was super nice. Minding Clefable was a good idea. We spoke after the first game of how Mienshao totally, utterly destroys her opponent's team and not have a fighting resist. on his entire. Actually, that's a lie. He had his elf and he brought his elf, but like he doesn't have a real fighting resist on his entire. She lost because of the subpar play early that put her like way on the back foot. She really needed to preserve her Crocodile better. Across the board, across both the seasons that she's had Crocodile, has needed to preserve her Crocodile better. She set up with her Clefable way too early. It could have won the game, but it just wasn't in a position to do that as long as Kartana was still around with other threats around it. I think her play actually worst of this game as she realized what she needed to do to win, as like the pieces that she could have used to win kept falling. The domino really fell in place for her, ironically, for her win con to try to like bring it back with Mienshao spamming high jump kick. Didn't work out just because of the matchup. At the end of the game, I think we saw she like missed a high jump kick, and that totally sealed the fact that she got 5-0'd. I think this game actually hit that high jump kick.
No, it was against an Alomomola.
It wasn't against. It was, but like the thing that happened there is right. Instead of for free, the Alomomola has to wish or protect the turn after, and so Cryo can come in and not get toxic. And pressure Alomomola out because of freeze dry. So I think you get at least one more free kill with Mienshao if that doesn't happen, or Cryo, and possibly more than what ended up happening, which is she took 50% and allowed Cryo to get toxic. During the game, she also like missed a bunch of toxics too, and that was just insult to injury. But I am at this point still, even with all that's happened, play has declined the past few weeks. Confident this is one of the league's 6 best teams, based on how she played earlier in the season. But again, I agree it has been getting worse. She's now eliminated actually from playoff contention because of what happened in the other games. Ironically, because of Bibarels won their game. If they had lost that game, she still would have been in play. But it feels really bad, man, the way her season has gone and where she finds herself now. I think if she had switched schedules with one of the teams in your division, Okan, that she would have been way better off. But sometimes it really be like that, you know?
Yeah, unfortunately. So moving on, we have both you at number 7. You had the Colorado Crawdons. Rishi, you can start off with their battle, and then we'll move on to the next slide.
Are we going to come back to Hartford or?
Yeah, because Okan has them up at 6, so we're going to talk about them in a second.
All right, so I'll do this because I got my game. So it's all right. As the Colorado Crawdons, there wasn't a replay because I forgot to save it because Okan's bad.
I got too excited.
But he popped off. This I will tell you the result of this game was a 6-0 win. Cavaliers. And we'll get to why I still have him ranked above Hartford in a second. But he just like really hit a brick wall. This matchup is super every match have a mono water team, alright? But this matchup is super bad because of Toxapex. I told him last time that he should bring Soak, Whirlpool, and Toxic, and I don't know that he did. He might have, because we didn't get to see a lot of his sets due to what ended up happening, but it wasn't one of the first 2 that was brought out. He missed, the only move of any importance the entire game, because I can't remember if it was before or after he set up, so what happened in this game is he set up his Gyarados while Ditto was still live. Ditto came in and killed his Gyarados, and at some point Kingdra missed the Draco Meteor on the... And I can't remember if that was before or after, because I can't remember how many times Ditto came in.
Ditto came in just once.
Okay, so he missed a Draco Meteor on the Ditto.
First, because I remember the game.
Okay.
Yeah, you go.
That's fine. I got the general idea. He missed the Draco Meteor on the Ditto. I'm pretty sure it would have killed.
Yeah, it was a roll.
Was it a roll?
Yeah,
wow, Gyarados is bulky, dude.
It's a sniper, so it could have crit as well.
Sniper doesn't increase your chances. I think if he was holding his scope lens, would have increased the chance, but So he probably would have killed Ditto if he had hit that Draco Meteor, and he didn't. I remember I watched this game live, and I was thinking that he still would have lost. So that's basically how it is. Overall, his prep was all right, at least the stuff that we saw, but it wasn't incredible. Again, play was below average, specifically because why would you set up with Ditto on the other side? Like, you just have to know that's the situation ever. And so he lost. I honestly don't really think he got hurt that badly. Which is the luxury of him having played as well as he has to this point with his schedule, where he is still the 6th seed. And even though he could have clinched a playoff spot with this win, he's still in a position where if he beats the Bibarels next week, he will probably get a playoff spot.
If he wins, he kind of guarantees. If he loses, I think he's out for sure.
Yeah, definitely if he loses the game, he won't get one. And theoretically not get a playoff spot even if he wins next week. But the odds of that happening are extremely unlikely just because of where the differentials of the matchups are of the teams around him. With a mono water team. So, like, this is just...
Yeah.
Even though this is a setback, the season's been impressive. I'm not going to hold this loss too much against him because it was kind of hacksy and he didn't really have a chance anyway. So...
going against, I think his matchup against Toxapex is not too bad. Constantly, he has Seismitoad, he has Tentacruel, all can kind of deal with it. Sharpedo can deal with it. Even like Gyarados kind of try to deal with it, but eventually, the best way for deal with it was set up and then just use the Earthquake, and he had the Z Grunt. What happened in the game was he led with Sharpedo, I led with Rotom, and then Sharpedo died to Thunderbolt from Rotom. I think. Then he went into Gyarados. No. Seismitoad? I don't know. Then he set up with Gyarados while I Toxic. He started to whittle down. I kinda switched between Rotom and Toxapex to absorb some damage. And I just went into Dido when he was gonna die to Toxic. And he was probably gonna use Earthquake because Toxapex was. So I got free Ditto with +2/+2, and with.
Oh yeah, I remember why I remember why I was mad now because I thought he should I thought you should have had Z Fly, and if he had used that there, you would have died. But
yeah,
sad.
Like
Go ahead.
understandable. Like Z ground can kill at +1, but the flying I think needs +2 or +3.
No, you're definitely right that was good prep, but on Z ground. But if he had had Z Fly, that would have been hype.
Yeah. Overall, like you said, not much to say. If the Kingdra hit the Draco there, I don't think they're at that point. I think he didn't bring Kingdra immediately after Gyarados died. I think that something else there. I don't remember. Yeah, I think
doesn't really matter.
Yeah, like there wasn't much mon, and I could have went into anything against that -2 Kingdra at that point. So yeah, bad prep, not too good prep. I mean, it's a mono water, so I kinda still have respect for the guy.
All right.
Good luck, Nick.
Yeah. So moving on to our top 6. Okan, I will let you talk about your number 6, the Hartford Herdiers, and you moved them up a couple slots this week, so you can go ahead and talk about their game as I get it pulled up right here.
Yeah, he played one of his best this week, I think, and against arguably the second best team, in the second best coach, not the team. Team sucks.
Wow.
yeah, the prep and play was all pretty good this week. I think the Ninetales or I think Arconids has a great matchup against Paul's team. It was a good bring on his part, despite the top Coco, because nothing in Paul's teams can save the switch into the liquidation. I think he said the best one is Paul said later best one is shift 3 and it takes like 70%.
Jesus.
And the HP rock on 9th is also pretty good. Like I don't think he had any bad plays or any like bad brinks in this game, and it's kind of showed he won trio. The overall, yeah, he has still a chance to make the playoffs, despite some really sad losses earlier in the season. I hope he can just manage to clinch the playoff spot, right? But it's hard for him because his differential is pretty bad, I believe. Yeah, overall, this was a really good game for him. Could he play could he prep better to make it more his differential better to some chance for the playoffs maybe? But like overall, good. Congrats.
Okay, so I have him ranked at 8, and that is lower than Okan has him. Surprise. Reason that is
Any particular reason there?
literally because, right? So I had such a problem because like has been playing recently, right? I have incredible respect for the way that is. The problem is, and I thus the first win because he did prep and play extremely well. Ryan did. The problem I had is that I struggled with the issue of how could I possibly move him above Datarath after losing to him 1 week prior. And the whole wrench into that plan is Colorado Crawdons got 6-0'd this week. What I'm going to do? I have literally no idea where to rank this kid. I'm going to throw it into a random number generator with all the rankings I could possibly justify. And I'm going to click a button and let fate decide where Ryan's going to be ranked. And so the range I used was, I believe, 5 to 8.
I think you said.
And I rolled an 8. No, I originally put in so it was 5 to 8. And I rolled an 8, and so that's where Ryan is ranked. Am I disappointed that it wasn't higher? Yes, I think I would have been more happy if I had rolled a 7 or a 6 and had him above the Crawdons and or the Granbulls based on his play this week. Again, he did lose to the Crawdons, a mono water team, in a matchup that he totally 100% should have dominated solely because he played. And I know that recency matters, but I just could not get over the fact that happened, and so I included in full well that it could come up. That said, as far as this game goes, especially when you compare it to like the first time these two teams played, his prep was vastly improved. The mistakes he made in the first game, he brought Bennett this time so that he would have enough to deal with Cresselia. Cresselia didn't end up being, but that was, I think, an important thing to note, even though we didn't see it. And he built his team, composed it more offensively this time. The offensive threats of Paul's team, because Paul's team is not that threatening to his defensively as long as he brings enough to deal with Cresselia. And so overpower Paul, then he should theoretically be able to win this game. I don't think his play was perfect. Necrozma died early. I think that was avoidable. He maybe played a little bit too aggressively with Arachnid, even though Paul didn't have like amazing switch-ins. Like, you say the best switch-in, like we talked about Paul saying his best switch-in was Shiftry. That was his best switch-in that was brought. Like, he has a Venusaur, didn't come, is an amazing Arachnid in the matchup. And he has a Cresselia that didn't come, which again is an amazing, at least liquidation switch-in, but didn't come. So he had to undervalue Arachnid and thus play as aggressively as he did. I just think that was a mistake based on the teams that were brought. But his play overall was still way better than it was the majority of the season, especially like the first part where I think he lost his first 6 games.
4.
His first 4,
But,
I think.
First 4, yeah.
Was it really only 4? Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
He also,
week 9.
forgot to mention Paul's Wooper as a switching to liquidation.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah.
My bad. Paul's.
That's bad prep. We can talk about it when we talk about
Bad
He should have
prep.
brought Hoover. Anyway, I think the big difference between the play this week and the early season play is that he just like kept it simple. He didn't overpredict anything. He made safe plays. He didn't necessarily make he made really safe plays this entire game. And when you have a threat as imposing as Lando I against a team that's as Paul's is at dealing with it, especially without Cresselia, it was really easy for him to see the path to victory in front of him and play effectively to setting up. And so he got that job done. In doing that is something that I don't think that he would have been able to do effectively. Like, the improvement there is very starkly noticeable, and it does keep his playoff hopes alive. In the hopes of making good on this late season run, I think specifically, like you talk about, he doesn't have a chance. He definitely has a chance, right? His differential's not that bad. We can go into the specifics of it, but essentially, he's tied record-wise with Colorado and Barbados. One of them obviously has to win next week because they're playing each other. Colorado's differential is -4, and both Barbados and Hartford are -6. So if Barbados is to win that game, and Hartford is also to win their game by a better differential, then they get the playoff spot. So it's not like outside of the realm of possibility. They're like 0. They exist. They're just not. They're not great because 1, he has to win his game, and 2, he essentially has to count on the other game being close enough
I also feel
to
like
get him in.
I also feel like it's fair to mention he's playing you, which is not an easy win by any stretch of the imagination.
That's true.
So,
But it could happen. It could happen. He just beat Paul. Transitive property.
it could. We're gonna move on. I also just realized that there's more errors on this page, so I don't know what happened. I apologize, but everything will be fixed next. Yeah, you're right.
Bro, this is so bad.
I will be fixed for everything next week. But anyway, number 5, you guys both had the Bloomington Glooms. Reach, you can take them first, and their matchup is they are now 5-4 and moved up a slot for both of you from last week.
All right, so he like whipped out his best prep and his best play for the most important game so far, and it worked out for him. He had built-in answers across his team for everything. But ultimately, because his team from the get-go, from the draft, was pretty poorly constructed, this entire game hinged on how he dealt with Kyle and most importantly, Mianchao. And the way he played this game ensured that those threats, specifically Clefable and Crocodile, were dealt with early to make it easier to deal with Mianchao as the larger threat in the late game. Part of that is because his opponent allowed that to happen to her. Part of it is because of the way he played and just honed in very specifically on dealing with those threats. Especially in prep, like the Corkscrew Crash was a great bring. Anticipating a potential berry. I don't know that Sparks, so that's probably why he brought it.
I doubt
But
that.
I mean, Kartana's strong as heck. I have no idea.
If it's fully physically defensive,
If it's fully physically defensive, you're probably right.
It barely kills.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No.
Oh, yeah. So Corkscrew Crash was a great bring. Easy. Anticipating that berry. People doesn't have leftovers. Like, I thought it was the berry. As soon as I saw that happen. But the point overall, that Kartana set specifically was a great bring. Azelf, in this matchup, especially because of the lack of Metagross, was finally able to actually do its job and pressure something offensively. So that was a good bring, believing in Azelf despite everything that's happened so far this season. And then Kieran White was in back, looming over this entire game as the threat that it is, which was able to like. I think that's part of why her opponent or his opponent misplayed early in this game is just the pressure of having to deal with Kieran late game kind of forced her to try to push the issue early to her benefit. And then we have Alomomola acting as the only even kind of Mian Shao counter on the entire team. That was its only job, and it did it well.
Because by avoiding high jump kick.
Even if it had gotten hit by that, it did have protect.
Yeah, then it should have won anyhow.
Yeah, so even if, again, well, we got into that when we talked about his opponent, but high jump kick hits, it probably, but he definitely wins that game at that point. And all of that just combined swung the balance of the game in his favor. Like we said, differential was a product of the high jump kick missing and getting Toxic on Cryo the turn after, but he still played well enough, he prepped well enough to win without it. He didn't technically clinch a playoff spot this week, but he's like almost guaranteed in because he is now a game ahead of 4 and 5 teams.
Really bad.
If he like gets utterly obliterated by Seth and both Hartford and the winner of the Barbados Colorado game win by high differentials, then he could miss the playoffs. But that is unlikely. All of those things together are extreme. So his seeding is up in the air, but he's probably in. And given the way he started the season and the way he was able to turn around, after he forfeited to Barbados, I believe he was 1-3, and he is now 5-4. He said he would play better, and he did. And so that's where we are.
Yeah, for me, the only thing to add, I would criticize his turn 1 play, which actually worked out for him, but the Hurricane was not a one-shot against the Crocodile, and if she just chose to go for Stone Edge, even if she wasn't Scarfer, she would have just claimed a kill there. And
yep.
I don't think the staying in was good there. If it was me, I would just switch into the Alomomola, which in the end, would be wouldn't be good for me, but I would still argue that was the correct play because his opponent kinda used the Scarf Crocodile for now, like I think 2 or 3 weeks in a row now. So no respect to that was. I don't know. Maybe he thought it would be a free switch into the card in that situation. But still, that's the only thing I can criticize. Other than that, yeah, the prep and play was really good. So, I mean, just the offensive pressure. I mean, his team basically came into the Kartana and Puram because the offensive pressure is too much. Other than that, yeah, like as long as he uses that too, has a good matchup against anyone. That's all.
And that brings us to the Twinleaf Town Torterras. So, in beating Rishu, the Orlando Appolitoeds, and beating myself in back-to-back weeks, he comes in up against the Hartford Herdiers, and Okan, I'll let you take over from here.
Well, I mean, Paul is, despite the loss, Paul is still like exceeding our expectations by just.
That's fair. That is a fair point.
Despite the loss, I think he kind of guaranteed the 4th spot now. I may be wrong about that, but
he can like mathematically still get the 3
I think
spot.
this was,
but
he won the first time, I know, but this was actually not too great of a matchup for him because he doesn't have a. I mean, he has a really good Lando switch in Cresselia, which didn't came this week. I don't know. Like, I understand why it didn't come because we talked about it last time, and Ryan actually this time used things like Leech Life, Araquanid, or Bannet to be able to answer Crest. So I understand why it didn't come, but I think it should have anyhow. Yeah, the prep was kind of questionable, but I don't have much to criticize about his play. He kind of lost at the matchup. So yeah, I think he can just brush off this lose, just get better in the following weeks. That's all.
Okay, so I don't really know where to begin. I had him ranked 4 last week because I saw this coming, obviously. Nah, his prep wasn't great because I think he, like, saw that what he did against you, Seth, worked, and again, despite the matchup and the player he was playing against being completely different. So he built really offensively, but I think if he had taken a little bit more of a balanced approach, it might have paid off for him, because not having Cresselia hurt him against the Landorus and against Araquanid, especially in the sun, like Cresselia doesn't have a problem taking Leech Lives. Even not having Mudsdale kind of hurt him, because it was a better than what he had. Mm-hmm. But his prep overall wasn't, like, bad. It was okay. Not having Wooper hurt him, or, like, dances around is generally pretty adorable. But
that was so funny.
The play was. I actually think he played very well. I think he played better at this game than he did against Seth, which is super ironic, and I hate how Paul keeps, like, doing this to me, where he beat, like, against me, he played extremely well, and his prep was, like, pretty good. Against Seth, his prep was amazing, bad, and against Ryan, his play was really, really good again, but his prep was kind of bad, and that's why he lost. His play was, like, actually really good. How he misplayed, but I looked for his misplays and I couldn't find any, except for bulking up with Hitmonchan when he did, and even that wasn't, like, game breaking, because the next by 2 turns later it didn't matter anymore. Like, I agree with every single 50-50 that he created in his head what he did. I don't think he overthought the Ninetales. Would Leaf Blading there have worked out better? Yeah, but knocking off the Ninetales to get rid of the item I think is a good play. Switching in again with Shiftry right before he gets killed in order to try to, and then knocking off the Snorlax knowing that he's going to die and Ninetales may come in, I think is still a worthwhile bet. From Paul's perspective, he can win this game with Greninja as long as Snorlax isn't the Chople Berry, right? So Greninja, in order, like, knocking off that Snorlax's potential Chople Berry and even hitting the Focus Blast that he missed, very crucial parts of him winning this game. The fact that neither of those things was able to happen for him is a large reason why he lost. Produced that uncertainty as to whether or not Greninja could win on its own, and it could, but he didn't know that. And he had no way of knowing that because Ryan bluffed / didn't bluff. Like, the inside baseball story is, Ryan had no idea Low Kick was going to kill him, even though it was definitely... So he kept playing Snorlax really aggressively around Greninja, which made Paul think that it was Chople Berry. I thought it was Chople Berry as well, watching, and so I do not blame Paul for what he did, because I think I would have done the exact same thing, and I also would have lost this game with this matchup. But, so it's unfortunate that his prep to win with the way he played, but that is why he lost. He lost because his opponent's prep was better, and his opponent's play fed more effectively into the game plan than Paul. Trying to use Zydog to win this game I don't think was bad, but it just didn't end up working out, and it was hard to do in the matchup. So that's what happens. I moved him not I didn't think he was playing better before. I still don't think he's playing better in the top 3 now, but he's definitely playing better than the teams I have ranked below him.
All right, moving on to our top 3. So back to we'll call it normal. We have the 3 of us again. Rishu, you are in the number 3 slot, and I'll let you talk about your game.
Okay, so what happened in this game was really simple. I noticed he dropped Ice Snack's only answer. And so, on the matchup where I saw, and then even when we got into team preview, I noticed, like, his entire team was grounded. So I threw Earthquake on. That was the last move I put on this set. It was just totally a throwaway move. I was like, maybe he'll bring a team that doesn't have grounded mons. Or doesn't have the 2 things he has in the air with Thunderous and the Electros, even though I kind of thought he would bring both of them. So I decided, we're going to lead Zygarde, probably, because the only things he has on his team that could kill me are probably maybe Swampert, depending on his set. So I'm just going to Earthquake something, and we're going to do a lot of damage. And to apply pressure to eventually be able to get this Absol sweep to prove to Okan why Absol is not trash. Okay? So at that point, right, turn 1 happens, Greninja's dead. I realize the game is basically over now. And every time I'm free switch-ins, so I just keep sending in Tangrowth and pivoting around because I'm like, what's the downside? And ultimately, there was no downside. This is not really a disrespect to my opponent, but it's just the way the team comps worked out. There was not a lot he could do, especially after having sacked off Greninja turn 1. So, could I? So, probably. But that would have involved pivoting around with Tangrowth some more and getting in Vaporeon a lot, and that would have made the game way longer than it had to be. So I didn't waste time, and I'm just like, you know what, I'll just Memento, and then I'll get a free Absol win. Or not a free Absol win, I'll be able to set up and win with Absol. So I told y'all Absol didn't suck, and Absol didn't suck.
You just need to sacrifice a mon for it to be able to...
I didn't have to do that either, I just could. Okay. It was 100% guaranteed.
I had some
after I sacked off the mon
against your prep this week because you used up. I still believe that mon is not good. I mean, it is good offensively, like it can do some damage. Why it has magic bounce when it can't switch into anything? Like, I don't know. It feels like there are better megas, there are better mons.
I will see you in the finals with my Absol.
Okay.
You'll see.
Okay. I'll enjoy.
No comment.
Shut up, Seth.
Other than that, yeah, the Zygarde did was really good. I didn't see that coming. He didn't see that coming. Actually, you had the Vaporeon, which is really good against his team, especially since Thunders is not around. I don't think Herdiers could have done much, and he was weak to Tangrowth. Was Tangrowth leftovers, Assault Vest?
I was AV.
AV, yeah. Then Helios does nothing to Tangrowth. The Comfy is such a good Swampert answer. Overall, like, Comfy is a pretty good Greninja answer. Overall, the team matchup was really in your favor, and you played according to that, and you won. End of the story.
Alright, fair enough. On to my game. Again, as we mentioned towards the beginning of the video, not a whole lot to talk about, but Okan, what did you think of the one mon you saw from my team?
You are just so lucky. You just won out of luck. Nah. I mean, the luck kinda mattered, I guess. The crits, like, he could have gotten the same crits. Then, I mean, you could have just came in with to be let you out, but still, it wouldn't have been that easy without the crit, I think. Yes, considering he didn't have roosts, eventually you would have just killed it with slow bro. The same shit would happen, probably. Yeah, like, not much else to say. I don't know what other 5 months you had. I can't have much else to say.
Wow. All right. What a non-loyal viewer to this channel. So, as the rest of you watchers, you do know what other 5 mons Seth brought and what their sets were, because you watched the team builder and didn't skip it. Okay. It was alright. I thought, like, I mean, obviously Jolteon does the work to his team, but I, like, wasn't a super big fan of the Noivern ring and the set that you brought, but whatever. Nice crit, lol.
Yep.
That's my analysis of your play. That's... Nah. I agree, from your perspective, in engaging in that Calm Mind War at the beginning of the game. Because Sylveon's not that necessary for you to win. So you can just until he just, like, because you don't know that he doesn't have Roost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that perspective, if he does have Roost, he wins that interaction because he outdamages you. So he the Def Drop to win that 1v1 100%
Does
of the time.
Weavile one-shot the left?
No, Weavile doesn't raw one. After the one Shadow Wall, Weavile probably killed it.
After the one
But-
Shadow Ball, I think an Icicle Crash was a roll heavily in my favor, but Knockoff did not kill.
Knockoff didn't kill, obviously, because of the Mega Stone,
Yeah. But
I don't think I agree with engaging in interaction. That said, if you had known his set and that he didn't have Roost, it was fine. You got a crit, cool, good job. You didn't have to, like, actually play the game after that happened. You just kind of won. It was easy.
I did play around the Destiny Bond Gengar.
Watch the video. You totally did that by accident. You just
No,
you just slacked off and saw that he had Destiny Bond. Then you were like, cool. And even then, if Latios is dead, he's not gonna win now, right? Like, that game was over as soon as you killed the Lottie. Prep was fine. There's nothing else about the play. The seeding for playoffs is now completely out of your control because I won. But you're still in a position where you could reasonably get a bye.
Not because you won, because you won 5-0.
That's true. I can't remember how much ahead of you I was in differential.
I think you were 6 points ahead of me going into the week. So I won.
But
So
even
I
then-
made up. It was either 6 or 7. So I made up those 6, but because you won 5-0, it made it impossible.
Yeah.
I will say.
So-
I will say that. So Shadow Ball has a 30% chance of getting a special defense drop. Energy Ball only has a 10%
It's 20.
chance.
It's Shadow Ball is 20, isn't it?
No,
Doesn't
30.
matter.
30.
Wow.
But I knew that, and I was kind of banking on getting a special D drop before Energy Ball did. That's why I kind of entered into that interaction. I also did it because I knew that I could bring in Weavile and Icicle Crash and handle it if necessary. I also had Scarfed Infernape that could come in and U-turn if necessary. So I'd wait out the odds. Slowbro wasn't crucial considering the matchup and considering what he brought. So I figured, why not? If I get a special, I was more banking on a special defense drop. I wasn't really thinking about a crit. So either way, if you guys watched the video, I was like super upset that I crit because I wanted to see what was gonna happen.
Yeah, I know. I remember that. The thing for me, just on the last note on that, is that I think you needed 2 Spadef drops.
I mean,
Whereas he only needed the 1 from
Yeah.
Energy Ball.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I did.
So,
I did 30% without a special D drop, so I think it would have done what, like 40 to 45%.
45.
Yeah.
it would be 40. Yeah. So
Yeah. So
you needed more than 1, which is why I think it wasn't a winning play.
Mhm.
But that's okay.
well, if I got the 1, then I could have, and he didn't get any. I could have slacked off and been okay. But it is what it is. It happened, and that's
Yeah.
it. But moving on to Okan. How did Okan play? I don't know. I didn't see the replay.
I think good. Okay. I mean, constant 6-0, but
You want me to go first, or
yeah, no, I
fine.
can go first. I switched. I had the same Toxapex set from the first game. First game was also 6-0 against the. I had the same Blissey set, same Toxapex set, same Rotom set, I think. Again, another Ditto. But I only switched the Mew set, which didn't come into play. Mew had a skill swap, so I could get like Swift Swim or Speed Boost. And instead of Z Fairy, I had Z Psychic time because it was enough for most stuff, and I just wanted stuff. And I also had something I couldn't use this game, but I really wanted to. But Tentacruel was last, and Tentacruel was really on the way of me because my meme was Sunny Day, Grassy Terrain, Grassy Sea. It would have gone to +1 defense, and it would have survived from anything. And in Grassy Terrain, the Giga Dragon almost killed anything. If it didn't, like, I could have just Moonblast and do great damage, and I took anything. I got recovery with Grassy and Giga Dragon. So it was actually good, but didn't have a chance to do that because Ditto is amazing. Yeah, I know I mean, I wish we had the typical replay because I think it was one of my better games, better play because of all the interaction between Gyarados' Crunch, Earthquake, and me swapping between Toxapex and Ditto stole it with Toxic and bring Ditto in the best possible because I had 5 attacks to kill 4 things, and I got my with already +2 attack, so I think the play was actually better than the previous weeks for me. That's all.
Alright, so like again, replay is gone. I don't specifically remember what happened in the game because real life time was a while ago. Again, broader strokes are you had a very good matchup and you exploited that matchup into a win. Your prep was very good. Almost assured of having the #1 seed, so you're like free to meme a little bit. It was technically plausible that I could catch you, but that wasn't real. Especially if you just don't lose, then you're fine. So the meme set I think was really nice. Rip Ditto. I don't really understand why you changed your Mew set because the first one was really good. I don't think this one was
That's
as
also
good.
kind of memey for me. Like,
No, I respect that meme as well. I respect that. The first one was like super good, and this one was like just a good meme, which counts for something, but it's not everything, you know. As far as keeping the Blissey and the Toxapex set the same, sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel when your matchup is as good as it was. Like, I didn't change my Tangrowth or my Vaporeon set from the first matchup I had in the rematch I played this week. Those both worked out fine. As far as your play goes, yeah, your play was pretty good. Watched it live. Don't have any criticisms as far as that goes. The big takeaway here is that this illustrates why Ditto is such a problem, and for everyone else, and such a great pick on this team, because the only way he was ever going to win this game was by setting up with Gyarados, or by setting up with Keldeo, or by setting up with one of his other sweepers, and that was not Ditto on the field. And so you checkmated him before the game even started by having Ditto, and the fact that Ditto won this game illustrate that point, but the nature of that being the case makes it is proof of why Ditto is such a good mon on your team. You have now effectively clinched the #1 spot. Technically speaking, if I 6-0 Ryan week 10 and you lose,
6-0 and I lose 6,
and if you lose 6-0 to the Teddiursas,
we're same, right?
week 10, then our differentials will be tied and we'll have to flip a coin. But I do not anticipate that happening. So you got the #1 seed. I'll see you in the finals after I beat Seth, or whoever I play round 2, because Seth's playoff track record is not all that.
Seth, Paul, or Alex are the names that you might see.
I'll see you there. Me and my Absol, we're coming.
I'll be waiting.
That's all I got.
What if Okan loses to Alex?
Then,
Okan loses to Alex, I might pop off and then throw against you just to see that as the final.
as long as but I don't.
You don't.
Like, I
you don't.
can't-
You don't need to throw against me to get me into the final.
Oh, you're right. No, that'll actually be a good
It
game,
will.
But I do really want to play Okon with Absol, so like.
Me too.
I mean, you guys, I talked about it. You'll probably end up playing after the season's over anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So,
Alright.
with that,
Anyways,
outro.
outro.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a comment down below. Let us know your own rankings or if there's anything you specifically agree with or disagree with. Roast Okon down below for not having the replay for his own battle. And thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.